So one of our big issues we're discussing this morning is a church in Morley that's providing free packed lunches for families in their parish over the school holidays to help families who may be going hungry over the summer. Now, this comes only a week after the Labour MP, Frank Field, called for children from poor families to be provided with free meals by local councils during the holidays, as well as term times. He chairs the All-Parliamentary Group on Hunger, which reported in April that up to 3 million children could go hungry these summer holidays. So, to discuss this more, I'm joined by the Reverend Sue Forrest Refearn, who is Team Vicar at St Andrews and St Paul's in Morley, and Dave Paterson, who's the chair of the Leeds Food Aid Network and project coordinator for Unity in Poverty Action. Good morning to you both. How are you?
Good morning.
Morning. Let's start with yourself, Sue, if we can. You've decided to do this off your own back. What prompted it?
Yeah, well, at St Paul's, we're quite a small congregation, really, but we're quite central to Morley. And we really, really want, you've already mentioned love and compassion and how important that is. We really want to share that with our community. The problem is that it's not always easy to actually make meaningful contact with the community in the way they need it. I was inspired, to be honest, by a really good friend of mine in Bolton, which is where I came from just short of 2 years ago, who has a project that actually gives free packed lunches to children in the Bolton area. Now, he's actually providing around 40,000 this summer. So,
wow.
It was inspirational, really. Obviously, this is on a much, much smaller scale.
Now, this, sadly, Dave, isn't exclusive to just one area of Leeds, is it?
No, I mean, it goes on across the whole of the city, it goes on across the whole of the country. And it's very much a journey of how we tackle that and tackle it effectively. What you said about stigma is a really, really important thing, because some people fear, being labelled and don't want to be seen as being in a kind of holiday hunger bracket. I think what we're finding is we need a range of different provision, and what Sue's doing with packed lunches is really good. We need to have programmes that involve lots of games. You're going to have some stuff that's going to have a mixture of people who are genuinely in need of food and with other people attending who aren't actually, when you've got games and activities, but also some very targeted work going on. We're doing a project in South Leeds with the church that's very targeted at some of the poorest people there. So you need a range of provision, as is always the case with food aid provision. When you look at the food bank model and the drop-in model and going out on the street and the cafe model, you always need a range of different provision to meet the different needs.
Now, as we were talking before, and you've discussed, is the issue of embarrassment around this, Sue, of people not wanting to be seen as poor and having to rely on food handouts. So how do you get past that?
Well, as Dave said, we tried to take a wider approach. We were going to make it very, very targeted, but we're starting from a much colder kind of connection than the project that Dave is really. So what we've done is we actually leafleted every Key Stage 2 child in a primary school in Morley that has notoriously got more families who are struggling with this kind of issue. But we also will actually be offering some games and free tea and coffee for mum and gran, whoever brings them, really, and just a hand of friendship. So although we are really targeting the families who have free school meals all through the term time and then it just gets cut off, we do know that this stigma is a big issue. And actually, under the love and compassion banner, there may well be people who actually can afford to feed their children, no problem, but feel really isolated. So that's a different kind of poverty, isn't it, that we're reaching out to?
Dave, I may know the answer to this, but what do you think of Frank Field, the MP, who said that councils should be providing food during school holidays?
Well, in 2014, he did the Feeding Britain All-Parliamentary Report into food poverty in general, and now he's brought out a new report on holiday hunger. I think, it's good. He's done a lot of good stuff in the Northwest regarding provision, and I think they've gone for the model of, well, it doesn't matter who turns up, let's provide food and activities together. So I think it's really good what he's doing. What we need is to see investment. So in Wales, you see a lot of investment from the national kind of government there. We don't see that in England. Street Games is a national organisation that's really trying to push that. They've got an all-parliamentary meeting in September, and they're going to push for that national investment, which is what we really need. Because if you look at holidays, I'm 2 hours away from going on holiday. I'm just about to go off on it over to Wales, just for a bit of time off. But you don't always have the voluntary capacity, and if we're going to scale up, we do feel that we're going to need some funding to help do that.
You can probably guess my next question, though. At a time when we see the likes of adult social care being restricted and problems with education as it is from the local authorities, where does that cash come from to feed those children during the school holidays?
So you're looking at me there, aren't you? In terms of money. Well, what's been really good about what we've seen in South Leeds, we've got a company called the People's Holdings, a business, actually funding that provision there, and I really think it could be a great opportunity for businesses to get involved with this. And
so private enterprises.
Private enterprise, yeah. And an actual business saying, look, we want to try and tackle this. We've heard the stories. We've heard that, it's somewhere between 1 in 10 or even 2 in 10 children are really struggling with poverty and in terms of food poverty, that's been a real issue, especially at holiday times, and they're wanting to help out. So I think that could be a real way forward, as well as, I've got a meeting with council people, and I know that Leeds Community Foundation could be involved in that process, and that could be a really good thing for Leeds. But national money, I think, could be key as well.
I can see the headlines now of privatising food banks, which is kind of what you're alluding to there, really.
Well, at the end of the day, if a business gives money to a charity, I think that's fine. If it takes over it, yeah, fair enough. But if it just gives money, then and plays a part and does a bit of volunteering, I don't think that's a problem at all. And I don't think that's privatisation. That's how the third sector works. That's how it functions.
So what is the long-term solution to this? Because you can't just use the church's funds just to give packed lunches. And I'm presuming, there could be thousands across school holidays. That's not a long-term solution, is it?
Well, perhaps, Jonny, I need to give you a bit of info about funding, because it isn't just from us guys. As I say, we're a small church, and we're looking at up to 2,000 packed lunches over the 4 weeks we're doing it. So we originally went to local businesses who made really positive noises, but the demand on their charity giving is huge, as you know, and actually they've not really come up trumps. I think, God willing, if this does take off this year, it'll be expanded. I don't think we'll necessarily be expanding it. Maybe Dave and Co and other people will be expanding it from the voluntary sector. But I think once they see it, they will. And we've also been given a generous grant from Leeds City Council, as well as parishioners donating crisps and biscuits, that kind of thing as well.
Is this your job as the church? Should you be doing this?
Oh, well, I think showing love and compassion is most certainly our commission, yes, definitely, in showing the love of Jesus. But the church, for centuries, millennia, has always supported the poor, and it's the thing that Jesus talked about most of all, actually supporting the poor, and the Bible has more references to supporting the poor than anyone else. But that's not to say that society should duck out of it, of course.
I guess that's what I was alluding at. It shouldn't
exactly.
just be your job. Thank you both very much for coming in. If people want more information or support, what do they need to do, particularly with reference to Morley, Sue?
Well, certainly, as I say, the project begins tomorrow, and if people feel that they are eligible, then to check if they want, they're welcome to phone me, or if they know a family who might benefit from it. And my phone number is
We'll
available.
give the details
yeah,
out.
that's
Yeah,
great.
we'll give the details.
But otherwise, if they're from that school in Key Stage 2, they know about it anyway. Turn up at between 12 and 12:30, and they'll be greeted with a smile, a cup of tea, some games, and we really look forward to meeting our community.
And Dave, it's not just around here in Morley, it's all over, as you say, and you can provide people with support across the city.
Absolutely. Just email my colleague Mary at leedsfoodaidnetwork.co.uk, or go on our website, which is leedsfoodaidnetwork.co.uk. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook. So yeah, do connect, and let's see how we can work together. Lots of other organisations do stuff as well. I know that Tina and Leslie doing stuff on period poverty, and Fair Share doing a lot of stuff around food, Street Games, Make Lunch, lots of different people to connect with, as well as the council and everyone else. So yeah, lots of opportunity there to do good.